Why did the villagers laugh and gossip about Amina? What actually makes her mother and father sad? Take a sit, grab a chilled drink and some popcorn. Let's watch and find out in this amazing story, The Journey of Amina. Amina lived in a small village near the big city. The village was surrounded by hills, rivers, and green fields where farmers worked every day. Amina was known by many people in the village, but not always in a good way. She made choices that others did not understand, and some judged her harshly for it. When Amina was a young girl, she dreamed of a better life. Her parents were poor, and every day they struggled to find food and pay for school. Amina wanted to help them, but there were not many opportunities in the village. Many times, she wished she could find a way to support her family. One day, when Amina was a teenager, she decided to leave the village and go to the big city. I will find work there, she thought. Maybe I can send money back home. With a small bag of clothes and some food, she set off on her journey. The city was very different from the village. There were tall buildings, crowded streets, and people rushing everywhere. Amina felt lost. She walked around looking for work, but it was not easy. No one wanted to hire a young girl with little experience. As days turned into weeks, Amina ran out of money. She had no place to stay and no food to eat. Desperate, she met a woman named Mariam, who offered her a place to sleep and food to eat. Mariam was kind, but she lived a hard life. She worked in the streets, doing things Amina didn't fully understand at first. Amina soon learned that Mariam was a prostitute. She told Amina, "This is how I survive. The city is tough, and people like us have few choices." Amina felt scared and confused, but she saw no other way to make money. She didn't want to go back to the village empty-handed. After much thought, Amina decided to do the same work as Mariam. She didn't like it, but she thought it was the only way to send money to her family. Over time, she began to get used to the life she was living, even though it made her feel empty inside. Back in the village, people started hearing rumors about Amina. Some said she had become a prostitute in the city, and the news spread quickly. People whispered her name with shame, and her family felt embarrassed. Amina's mother cried many nights, thinking about her daughter. Her father was angry and refused to talk about Amina, but deep down, they both missed her and wished she would return home. One day, Amina received a letter from her younger sister, Zainab. "Sister," the letter said, "I miss you so much. Please come home. We don't care what people say. We love you and want you to be safe." Amina cried as she read the letter. She hadn't realized how much her family missed her. Amina wanted to go home, but she felt ashamed. "What will people think of me?" she wondered. "They will never forgive me for what I've done." But Zainab's words stayed in her heart, and she began to think about returning. One evening, Amina sat with Mariam and told her about the letter. "I don't know if I can go back," Amina said. "They will judge me." Mariam nodded. "People will always judge," she said. "But it's your life. You have the power to choose a different path." The next morning, Amina made a decision. She packed her things and left the city. She didn't know what the future would hold, but she knew she couldn't continue living the life she had been living. She wanted something better. When Amina arrived back in the village, she was nervous. People stared at her as she walked down the dirt road toward her parents' house. Some whispered, others pointed, but no one said a word to her face. Her mother was the first to see her. She ran out of the house, tears streaming down her face. "Amina!" she cried. "My daughter, you're home." Amina hugged her mother tightly, and for the first time in a long time, she felt safe. Her father stood at the doorway, watching silently. He didn't say anything, but Amina could see the sadness in his eyes. "Father," she said quietly, "I'm sorry." He nodded slowly, and though he didn't speak, Amina knew he was glad she had returned. At first, life in the village was difficult. Many people still judged Amina, and she could feel their stares whenever she walked through the market. But her family supported her, and that gave her strength. Amina decided to start fresh. She wanted to find a way to help her family and the village without going back to the city. She began working in the fields, helping her father plant crops and take care of the animals. Over time, people in the village began to see Amina differently. They noticed how hard she worked and how she was trying to make a better life for herself. Slowly, the whispers started to fade. One day, An elder in the village came to speak with Amina. "We have all made mistakes," he said. "But what matters is how we choose to live our lives now. You have shown us that you are strong and determined. We are proud of you." Amina smiled, feeling a sense of relief. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged again. She knew that her past would always be a part of her, but it didn't have to define her future. As the seasons passed, Amina found peace in her work and in her community. She began teaching other young women in the village about the importance of education and finding different ways to support themselves. She shared her own story, not as a source of shame, but as a lesson in resilience. Zainab, her younger sister, often helped her with these lessons. Together, they spoke to the village girls about self-respect, dignity, and the importance of making choices that would lead to a better future. One day, Mariam came to visit Amina in the village. She had left the city too, looking for a new beginning. Amina welcomed her with open arms. "You don't have to live that life anymore," she told her friend. "There's always another way." Mariam stayed in the village, and the two women became even closer. Together, they started a small business, selling handmade crafts and farming produce. It wasn't much at first, but it was honest work, and it gave them hope. As Amina's business grew, people from the neighboring villages came to buy her goods. She started earning enough money to support her family without ever having to return to the life she once lived. One day, the chief of the village called Amina to a meeting. "You have done great things for our people," he said. "You have shown us that anyone can change their life. We are grateful for your hard work and your strength." Amina thanked the chief, but inside she still struggled with feelings of shame from her past. She wondered if she would ever fully forgive herself for the choices she made. One evening, as she sat by the fire with her family, her mother said something that touched her deeply. "Amina," she began, "you may not realize this, but you have become an example for all of us. You show us that no matter how far we stray, we can always come back home." Tears filled Amina's eyes. She hadn't realized how much she had grown since returning to the village. Amina thought about her mother's words long after the fire had burned out. She realized that she had been carrying the weight of her past for too long. It was time to let go and embrace the life she had built, a life filled with hard work, love, and the respect of her community. The next morning, Amina decided to visit the elders in the village to speak about the future. She wanted to help other young girls avoid the mistakes she had made. She knew there were many who, like her, might feel trapped or desperate in difficult circumstances. The elders listened to Amina's ideas and agreed that something needed to be done. Together, they planned to create a community center where young girls could learn skills, attend school, and receive guidance when life became hard. Amina threw herself into the project, working with the elders and the village women to build the center. It took many months, but eventually, the center was finished. They named it the House of Hope. On the day of the center's opening, the whole village gathered. There was singing, dancing, and a large feast to celebrate. The chief stood up and spoke to the crowd, saying, "This center is here because of Amina's courage. She showed us that no matter what, we can always find hope." Amina felt proud as she looked at the young girls gathered around. Many of them reminded her of herself when she was their age, full of dreams but unsure of how to make them come true. Now, she could help them find a better path. Hello everyone. Thank you for watching African Tales by Queen once again. I sincerely appreciate. Kindly press the like, share and comment button. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification bell. See you all in my next story. Bye.